Last summer, I bought a Honda CRF 300 and set off on an off-road adventure with no previous experience going off-road whatsoever. I discovered that the most dangerous thing wasn't the trip itself, but instead coming home in one piece and thinking, if I can survive that, what else can I do? When I next had time to ride out again, it was winter in London. So I looked through online maps for somewhere warmer, and my eye was drawn to one place, the south of Spain. But to get there, I'd need to cross the Pyrenees mountains. Soon, a series of questions had formed in my mind. Will I go crazy trying to get down to Spain on a 300cc engine? How cold does it get when crossing a mountain range in winter? Will I spend the entire time alone, or will I come across any other bikers? And if I do survive getting over the Pyrenees mountains, what will I find on the other side? In this upcoming story, I'll share with you the answers to those questions, and a whole lot more. Everything that could have gone wrong today went wrong and then got worse. When I was on the motorway to the Channel Tunnel train taking me from England to France, I saw a sign telling me that the services were suspended. When I arrived, I learned that there had been a strike. It was so sudden and unannounced, the strike, that there was a train that had already left Folkestone going to Calais, and it had to go back. It was that bad. No one knew what was going on. After queuing for ages with all the other travellers, I get to the front and they give me a 24-hour ticket and tell me to come back tomorrow. So I got my phone out and found there was a ferry leaving from Dover just 10 miles away. But getting there was going to be a whole other problem. There were masses of people with the same idea, and so the road was completely packed. Normally, I would just filter through traffic, but a huge police escort had blocked the middle of the lanes. Eventually, I made it through and got on the ferry, but I had been having another problem. I'd noticed my bike was acting funny, the headlight was flickering, something wasn't right, and then it wouldn't start. The bike wouldn't start. I'm in this queue of traffic, everyone's angry already. Before the trip, I had wired heated gloves to the bike's battery. If my calculations were correct, I wasn't overloading the battery, so I had no idea what it could be. Sometimes the bike would start, sometimes it wouldn't. And if the heated gloves were the problem, there was no way the trip could continue without them. The good news, there is some good news. They serve beer. Oh yeah, that is helpful. The way that I'm feeling right now and how terrible this trip has been already, and the fact that I've been wondering what the hell am I doing going in winter.
I'm starting to wonder if I should just turn back and just call it quits. It's so stressful, especially on a bike, just going through traffic, and you can't get your phone out to check. There's no one with you as well to help you out. It's just you. You can't even leave your bike alone for a second because someone might just take something.
Sometimes you just need a bit of help. Mine came from a bike mechanic called Pierre, who worked at Calais Dafe Moto. He spotted the broken screw on my battery terminal, and after he changed it, everything worked perfectly. It was Friday the 22nd of December, and I needed to ride 1,000 kilometers to Toulouse, to the only shop I could find that would be open on a Saturday before Christmas, change out my worn-out stock tires, and then get over the Pyrenees mountains into Spain to find somewhere to spend Christmas Day in just 3 days' time. I was almost sad Pierre had fixed the bike. Part of me wanted an excuse to go home, where it was warm, where it was dry, where I wouldn't be alone. But goddamn, at least I was out there. I wasn't at home wasting my time with nonsense and doing all the things I've done many times before. It was just me and my Honda, the bike which I planned to sell after my first trip but couldn't bear to part with. Together, we rode out into the unknown. When I told people my plan, most warned me against it. But if it was foolish to go, I prefer to find out for myself. If everything does go wrong, it just gives me an interesting story to tell. And trust me, I cursed that decision many times on that motorway to Toulouse, where a steady stream of cars flew past me, and there was only the endless drone of the wind. But after Toulouse, when the Pyrenees mountains finally came into view, I began to feel excited. Let's do this. I'm ready. There are levels of cold. When I crossed the Pyrenees mountains, I discovered most of them. At first, there's the cold that comes from the wind chill and the altitude. And then there's the cold that comes when the sun goes down. No matter how many clothes you wear, if you ride long enough, then the cold always finds its way in. On my chest, legs and feet, I was wearing zero-fit base layers, which the company claims has technologically enhanced heat threads inside, which brush against the skin to generate warmth. It seemed to have worked so far, but this would be the real test. On my Garmin GPS, I could display elevation. This would give me a graph showing what was to come 30 miles ahead. After a while, the displayed elevation sharply peaked at 7,500 feet. For 30 miles, I watched this horrifying landmark grow closer. When I reached this peak, I entered a tunnel where the temperature dropped even further. I would be in that tunnel for over 4 minutes. After I emerged, I pulled over for petrol and to find a hotel in Spain that would take me down off these mountains. For the next hour, I rode against the light, watching the sun slowly disappearing over the horizon in a dazzling display of beauty. The sky is not as clear as this in England. It doesn't stretch out as far, and the sun is not allowed to show as many colors. Then the dark fell, and I was colder than I'd ever been before on a motorbike. But the base layers were doing their job. Sometimes a spasm of shivering would take over, and after a moment, it would settle. I tried to distract myself with thoughts of warmer places to come, and by watching the sun make a slow and graceful bow out of sight. By the next morning, I had attached a cheap thermometer to the top of my forks and could now see the temperature as I went. It's currently showing 7.4 degrees, but I know it's less than that. After crossing Europe through rain, wind and snow, I was finally heading to some heat and to the off-road. I was joining the Trans-Euro Trail, a volunteer-made set of GPX files which covers over 100,000 kilometers of Europe's gravel roads, muddy trails and treacherous rocky paths. I found the trail and got myself ready. I know what you think I'm doing, but actually I'm letting air out from my Airhawk seat cushion. It worked wonders to keep my backside from breaking when on the motorway, but when off-road, I need to feel every bump of the track. In my last story, the off-road to Monaco, I had ridden for 19 days through the French and Italian trails and now considered myself one level above beginner, perhaps beginner plus. But after only 10 minutes, I hit a tricky section and found that any confidence I had once gained was now gone, the result of 3 months without riding trails. Who made this route? Oh my god. How long would these steep type turns go on for? I stopped to look around. It's been about 15 minutes on the Tet and I can't handle it. Have I forgotten how to ride? Apparently it's 24 degrees right now, 24.1. Incredible, the temperature change. I've got a friend. How did that happen? Incredible. Thank God it's downhill. I think my chain's gone. The chain was fine, but I was scared. Every hill seemed steeper than the last. It was like this on my last trip. Many tiny leaps of faith. I just needed to go. Things are rarely as bad as we think they might be. My leap of faith gave me the confidence to tackle the rest of the trail, and then I came to smooth roads set against a crystal clear sky. I went for petrol and met this English family at the attached coffee shop. They invited me to sit, and I enjoyed telling them about all the things that had gone wrong already on this trip. Those are the best stories to tell, and it felt good to tell them. By the time I left, it was getting late. As it was Christmas Eve, I wanted to stay somewhere a little fancy. I checked my phone and saw a boutique hotel that had a cheap last-minute deal. It was south of me, in a place called Teruel. I checked the distance, over 2 hours. The sun was low on the horizon. Screw it, I thought. I've ridden across France in winter rain. I can get to Teruel. And so I set off. After 30 minutes, I turned on the elevation and to my horror, saw the road was getting higher. I was heading into another mountain range, and it was getting dark. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Just like there are levels of cold, there are levels of suffering. And on that road to Teruel, I suffered. I watched the temperature plummet on my thermometer. 14 degrees, 9 degrees, 4 degrees. And then it was too dark to see the number. First, there was confusion. Why were there still mountains? I had already crossed the Pyrenees. It was meant to be warm now. Then there was anger. Why was this happening to me after already enduring so much? Then there was fear. What if the bike breaks down? Do I have enough petrol? What if the road keeps getting higher? Then there was only despair. I hadn't felt like this in a long time. There were no shops, no petrol stations, no cars. It was Christmas Eve. Everyone was tucked in bed or enjoying a drink with friends. Only I was out here on this road. And then about 45 minutes away, I just snapped out of it, I think. I just thought, right, okay, I've survived this long, I can make it. I can do it. The fuel's gonna hold up. I can make it. The things that go through your head, the reasoning that you do. Well, if I've made it this far, then I can make it that far. And that was cold. That was so cold. Merry Christmas. Terrifying. The doors opened on a frosty morning where a blanket of cold hung over the city of Teruel. But I was heading south, where there was a promise of warmer mornings. The land had turned a shade of red, and soon I came to where the road transitioned into off-road. It was here that I first noticed the silence of Spain. No leaves rustled, no birds sang. When I mounted my bike, I felt the nervous excitement in seeing the trail sat ahead of me. Who knows what's around the next corner? It wouldn't take much for me to be out of my depth. It's exactly this unknown challenge that I am drawn to. I know where I'm going, but not how I'll get there. I simply follow the pink line on my GPS, made by linesmen of the Trans-Euro Trail. I place my trust in the paths they've chosen and in my bike to carry me over these paths. Getting here in winter had not been easy. Each time I arrived at the hotel, I found the cold stayed with me long into the evening. Of course, I had done this to myself. There are easier ways to have an adventure. But I enjoy the achievement of strapping luggage to a small engine and seeing how far I can get. I don't remember much of day 5 and 6, except that I was very happy. There were none of the struggles that had filled the previous days. I was out here, far from home, alone on these trails, in a land of the type I'd never seen before. I marveled at the simple beauty of it all. And I wondered, would I be feeling this way if I hadn't had to struggle to get here? Would the sky look this clear? Would the sun shine as bright? I never know what I'm looking for on these trips until I find it. On the trails that lead down through Spain, I found it. A lake in a new shade of blue I'd never seen. A trail that endlessly winds into the distance. A sun that paints the land in gold. The cold had been with me ever since I left my home in London, but here I had escaped it. I rode into the setting sun. The trail it's really varied. You can't relax for too long because at any moment it just changes from a little bit muddy to some rocks to some divots to some ruts to...
¿Dónde camina? ¿Dónde va?
To Granada.
Granada.
Granada, yeah. Off-road.
Granada.
Yeah, it's okay. I have clothes.
Hace frío esta mañana, ¿sabes? Sí.
London is cold. It's okay.
Something about the Honda attracts attention. In London, I ride a black SV650 and no one cares. But on the Honda, everyone's heads turn.
You ride?
Sí.
Do you ride?
No,
No.
okay. No.
Drive.
No, moto.
Maybe it's the bright red, maybe it's the knobbly tires, maybe it's the money bags strapped all over the bike. I'm going on an adventure, the bike is saying. I saw in many people's eyes a desire to join me.
I am Olympic shooter.
Olympic shooter.
Yeah.
You competed in
Yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah.
What type of shooting?
In 22. But I have, in Ibiza, I have 9 shotguns and 10 long.
Shotgun.
Short pistols.
You must have a very steady hand.
Oh yeah, I am veteran legionnaire.
Ah, nice. Okay.
I was with 19, I am veteran legionnaire.
That's awesome.
Foreign legion.
Look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
If you come to Ibiza, you phone me.
Okay, I will. This goes
is-
to my battery and my gloves.
And for the
So I can stay warm. I have to do it, otherwise I will die.
I didn't know it then, but the next day I would have lost one of those gloves. It fell off my bike as I moved it into a hotel underground car park, and someone took it. I didn't realize the glove was missing for a while, because in that underground car park, I met 2 Germans. Their names were Fabian and Moritz, or Fabi and Mo. and they had wheeled 2 BMW 650s into a van and driven overnight from Germany to get here and ride the same trails I was heading to. I would see no other bikers on this trip, so it was complete luck that we had met. The right place at the right time. We spoke for a while before swapping numbers and agreeing to meet out on the trails someplace.
It's so quiet. There's no wind. It's so still. There's no rustling. There's nothing. And it's been like this every time I've stopped. I just turn the engine off and then there's just nothing. I'm approaching the real south now of Spain. And that means I'm closing in on 2 deserts. One called the Tabernas Desert and one called the Getafe Desert, I think it's called. Yeah, I'm interested in what it's going to be like in a desert and with sand everywhere. I've also got 2 Germans on my tail.
We have to calculate now.
But it's nice to know that there's someone else on the trail, you know? I'm so lost. This way? No. No way. Let's tell the Germans about this and find a way round. Where am I? Thank God I have a light bike. Where am I? That was not easy. Please tell me it gets nicer. I need a break. I need some cool air. Oh dear. Oh, we're going over this. Okay. Onwards. I want to go that way. It looks nice, but the trail is sending me this way. Do I do it? You know the answer.
It had to happen, didn't it? Bike is on my leg, which is interesting. Oh, thank God. Well, that got dicey, and it's gonna start getting dark. All right, let's push on. These get easier. Yes. Now we head down, finally. What? What a day. Braked too early, made it harder. Never have I been so happy to see a road. Today I had riding partners. Fabi and Mo, the two Germans I met a couple of days ago, had stayed at the same hotel as me, and in the morning we set off together. As soon as we reached the trails, I was reminded that I was very much still a novice off-roader. I watched Fabi and Mo glide over the terrain and slip around corners while I struggled to keep up. They regularly had to stop and wait for me, and soon I became worried that I was an unwelcome addition to the group. I'd hate to be the one to spoil their fun.
I think maybe you should go because I'll be too slow for you, I think.
Well, for now it was perfect. I mean, for me it was working perfectly.
Okay.
I'm not feeling stressed. All good.
What a legend. It seemed they were happy to have me along after all, and I immediately relaxed.
Oh my god.
That was fun.
I think I went the most you can come off the bike without falling. I was like,
I was watching Mo in front of me. He went straight through it. I was seeing him like I had the chance to slow down.
I'm so glad you stopped. I was so hot.
How far do you get in one tank of petrol?
70 miles per gallon on the bike.
Oh, that is.
What's your one?
We have to calculate now.
You say miles per litre, do you, in Germany?
We say kilometers per liter.
Oh,
No. Liters per 100 kilometers.
Oh, this is just a good spot to stop. Now I finished relaxing. Let me just get out of my parking spot.
Crashing into a bush at the side of a trail feels different when there's people with you. You're able to laugh things off together, and if worried about broken parts of the body or bike, you know there's an extra pair of hands around to help out.
You good?
I went all the way up. Can you hold the bike while I...
Sure. All right, I
Yeah.
got the bike.
Oh shit. No wonder I can't get down. Man.
Let's just move the bike with the wheel a bit to that side.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. All right.
And we're stuck again?
But that's gonna work.
Yep.
Go,
Yep.
go, 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 go. All right.
And forwards.
Here we go.
Yeah, I just thought I'd have a bit of a parking spot over here.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd have a bit of a rest. I was all the way up in there.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. That's a cool parking spot.
Crashing alone is different, and I found it can shake me up. When I crashed into a bush at the side of a difficult Italian trail on my last trip, I was lucky to meet Pierre a few turns later and together laugh the experience off.
I can't go back because there's a rock. So I just drive through.
But when I crashed into fresh mud near the end of that trip, I found that without anyone around, any fears were magnified, and I rode cautiously for a long while until my confidence returned. So I was delighted that Fabi and Mo let me tag along. Sometimes I feel like a misfit when sitting at a petrol station in off-road boots eating bad pizza, but not when I have two other misfits with me. Following Fabi and Mo in dry Spain meant living in a constant trail of dust, and in that dust cloud, something happened. Anyone who rides will know the dangers of target fixation, the idea that where you look is where you'll go. When learning to corner, we are taught to look through the turn, far down the road, and trust that the bike will follow. If you instead look at a tree halfway round the corner, that might just be where you end up. Riding off-road is scarier than the road, and I found I spent most of my time looking down at the ground and worrying about where my wheel was going. But in that dust, there wasn't any ground to see, so instead I looked ahead. And like unlocking a new power in a video game, I unlocked a new ability to corner at speed, sliding my back wheel around corners and keeping the two helmets of my riding partners in view. It was bloody amazing.
never been on this sort of surface before.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Until it gets really rainy.
Really what?
Rainy.
Rainy, yeah.
At that point,
Rain would be a problem.
it's not gonna be fun anymore.
So let's enjoy it while we can.
It was the golden hour. That time of day when the sun delivers a final flourish before bowing out of sight. And we were on the perfect trails to enjoy it.
So there is a high-tech scenic pisses.
What?
I was just thinking the same.
What's that?
So there's a channel and they're posting about scenic pisses.
There's an Instagram account called Scenic Pisses.
Well, let's get a picture to add to that Instagram. On my one, I can see a little track. Can you see it? If not, then I can show us the way.
Like right here, that might be even your trail.
Yeah, let's try. Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. Gracias.
No, that's where the fun is with the mud.
Okay. Ich glaube, da hinten wird's besser. I think it's getting less muddy down there.
Okay. Shall I go round, put my bike there, and then help you with your bike?
I
Yeah.
think it's easier for me to go back a little bit and go there.
Okay.
That's where the nobbies are working. Wanna try?
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Oh my god. Okay, what's your plan? To go back?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can get it going from here.
Careful. Too fast. Too fast. It's too fast. Oh my god. Had that happen. Okay. All right. Cool.
Thank you. Good.
Oh no, the poor handguard.
A problem here. Which is that the clutch lever
Clutch is dead.
gave up.
If only we had a mechanic with us.
Yeah, I mean, I got a spare clutch lever with me, but we kind of need to get the bike out of here. Kupplungshebel gebrochen.
Ah, okay.
But I would love to get the bike out of here before.
Neutral, revs,
Yeah,
make in first gear and then don't stop.
good idea. Or let's see if it's a good idea.
You going this way?
Richtig Gas geben. Ah, genau.
Ah, shit.
That's not the best idea without a clutch. That's
Yeah, you can't feather it.
Still got the brake lever?
All his skill, all his years of experience has come down to this. Oh, so close. But he stayed up.
up here. I think we need to push.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Ah,
Thank you.
I would love to say that I helped, but I think that was all you.
All right.
Oh my god.
This is just a lever and not the mountain bracket.
This is the path. This was the path. So easy.
Yeah.
Next
Well,
time.
Yeah, but
better know next time.
this one was more fun.
If I'd been alone, I would have taken that clear path and avoided the thick, slippery mud. But it's when things go wrong that you build the best memories. Just like I escaped the cold and found delight in the simple pleasure of a warm shower after a long time cold, we had escaped the mud and together giggled like schoolchildren, in spite of the darkening sky and dropping temperature and no idea where we'll stay that night. Yesterday had been one of the greatest days of riding I'd ever had. Today would be different. Ever since I escaped the mud, the bike seemed to have less power than before. Back in Germany, Mo is a mechanic, and after listening to my vague description of the problem, he cleared debris from the rear brake, cleaned my air filter, and asked me if it made a difference. At first I thought it was better, but after we returned to the trail I found the problem was still there. It was fine at low speeds, but anything over 30 miles per hour was a struggle. I was also struggling with something else. I had thoroughly enjoyed having riding partners for a day, but it meant I captured less video of my adventure. This problem, and the problem of my bike not feeling right, meant that after a couple of hours I had made a decision to ask Fabi and Mo to go on without me. We agreed to stay in touch and perhaps meet up again later down the trail. I set off alone and immediately missed them. I wondered about my reasons for asking to continue alone. It was true that I found it harder to capture video in a group, especially with a drone to fly. But having riding partners changed the dynamic of my trip. With Fabi and Mo, I was the inexperienced beginner struggling to keep up in the dust of superior riders. When alone, however, I was the heroic adventurer, fearlessly exploring a new land. I didn't like this conclusion, but I suspected there was some truth to it. Later that day, I would regret my decision to leave Fabi and Mo. But first, there was a trail to fearlessly explore. The day continued, and I found this section of the trail less interesting than the rest. I became tired of the endless gravel roads, and my bike was still struggling. I decided I should get to a hotel and search for a Honda garage to help check the bike. I checked the trail on my GPS and saw it wound a long path around the mountain. I could see there were shorter paths down to the road. I decided to go off-route and follow one of these paths. The Garmin GPS was no use here. My other option for navigation is an app called Gaia GPS, which I use in the mornings to check elevation of my route and see if I need to skip a section due to bad weather. It also shows me smaller paths that my Garmin doesn't. Here, it showed 4 different directions I could go, and I had no idea which one to take, or if I was allowed to take any of them. The trail I had just come down was steep, and it would be dangerous to go back. I was committed to finding a route out of here. The first path seemed to be taking me back the way I came. The left route was the steepest path I'd ever seen. I chose to go right. It was a dead end. I went back, and after seeing the straight route led nowhere, there was only one option left. There was a closed gate at the bottom.
Oh, fuck.
The sign said to close the gate when you pass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was genuinely panicking there. Not because of the problem I was in, but more the problem I could get into. I was thinking, if I drop this bike and damage it or something, oh my god, get me out of here.
Would you be surprised if I told you that the first path I tried, which seemed to go the wrong way, turned out to be the right path?
New lesson, only trust paths marked on this map, not on my hiking map.
I'm slightly ashamed to admit that up there on that mountain, I had me a little panic. My mind ran through all the things that could go wrong, and I felt out of my depth. Stupid Englishman playing adventurer on a Spanish hillside, I said to myself. Many times I cursed my decision to leave Fabi and Mo, and now, back on the road, I sought them out. They had stopped at a village called Treveles, just 7 kilometers ahead. They had bought themselves a feast, and when I arrived, were sitting on a bench stuffed full of local Serrano ham. I told them my tale and how stupid I felt about it. Mo looked at me. "Happens to the best of us," he said, and he meant it. That day we stayed at the same hotel, and in the evening set about finding the cause of my bike's problems. Soon enough, Mo found it. My clutch didn't have any free play and was slipping. After he adjusted it, the bike was fine. And so was I. There is something meditative about being on a bike. In a car, you merely turn a wheel, but on a bike, every shift of your body is an input that forms the relationship between bike and road. Throughout my life, I've struggled with overthinking, but when on a bike, I find I am present in the moment. In my helmet, I had headphones for music, but this was a morning to ride in silence. I had set off early and saw Fabi and Mo's bikes were still in the garage. I knew that with my stopping to capture video, I'd see them on the trail soon enough, and I looked forward to it. After Mo had adjusted the clutch, the bike had regained its power, and I listened to the sound of the engine as it wound around sweeping corners towards the trail.
Coming up now, yeah?
We have a turn because we didn't want it to have problems.
It's too much.
Very high.
It's very high. They say near Malaga, it's quite hard.
It's quite, this part only, I think. The rest,
Here is hard. It's okay.
This part is easy, I think.
Okay, so I should be careful now, yeah?
Yeah, that's now.
Okay, okay. Oh dear, they just told me that this is the rocky part and that they just turned around, I think they said, because they just didn't think they could do it. This is going to be interesting. Let's get every angle of my suffering. Yes, hello. I'm ready. Which way? I think it's the one on the right. Pure skill, done with grace and elegance. Oh dear. I'm guessing the tech goes up there. I think I hear friends. It's a good day, gentlemen. It's a good day.
Your bike's feeling like another bike?
Oh my god. It's like a new bike. Did you pass those Spanish guys?
Yeah.
They said they came here and they turned around. The problem is it starts steep and then it gets steeper.
Oh yeah. Might need to put on.
Come on.
One of the things about following a cross-country off-road trail made by others is that each day you have no idea what kind of terrain you will face. Sometimes I search online to try scouting out what lies ahead, but I soon realized it's foolish to try and take control of an adventure. In Travels with Charlie, John Steinbeck once wrote that we don't take a trip takes us. And today my trip had taken me from Ojeda, near the base of the Sierra Nevada, towards the southern coast of Spain, where the trail would turn right and loop around the Sierra de Tejera mountains. I saw Fabi and Mo a few more times until my regular stops to film meant they went on ahead, and I was alone again. And alone I journeyed, and the trip took me. I know now, when I watch these videos back, why I take such journeys far from home. I can be on the most exciting trail in the world, but if it's in my own backyard, it feels different. I chase that feeling of knowing I'm a long way from home, that sense that comes when you're in a place you might never visit again, and you've come here, on your own bike, by your own means, all the way from your doorstep. Sometimes you have to go really, really far to find it. And for me, I've only ever found it when I'm alone. Something terrible was lingering in my mind.
I had come over 1,000 miles to a land of the kind I'd never seen before. I'd made friends with fellow bikers, crashed into a bush, got stuck in the mud, and got lost on a Spanish hillside. But with every further mile that I traveled, I knew I was extending my journey back. If I continued west along the Spanish trails, the only sensible return journey would be up through central Spain, and it was there that the weather was at its coldest. The lack of power in the CRF 300 means it struggles to get up hills at speed, and while I rode to catch up to Fabi and Mo, I confused this with the continuation of the issues with the bike's clutch. This, combined with the prospect of getting myself home in time for work, meant I made the decision to mark this as my turning point and begin the journey home. I said goodbye to my German friends. My plan was to head up along the coast where it was warmer. But first, there was somewhere I wanted to visit again. On New Year's Eve, I woke up at a hotel near the Garaffi Desert, which I had passed through with Fabi and Mo. As I rode out to the trail, the temperature was only a degree above freezing, and soon my hands were frozen. Bizarrely, the temperature would soon shoot up to almost 20 degrees. When I had reached the section of the trail that could be named as a desert, it was obvious. I stopped to look around and soon forgot about my frozen hands.
Look at this beautiful thing. And look where I am. I've never seen anything like this before. Apparently we're in Europe still. And what's crazy is I can see this, which looks like a desert of some sorts to me. And then I look over there and in the distance I can see snow. That is Sierra Nevada, and this is the Garaffi Desert.
Dando vuelta.
This is all you?
Sí. Buen día. Feliz año.
Gracias.
With the desert completed, it was time to head back. In search of some recognition of the new year, I visited Murcia for the night and watched some fireworks. And then my 2024 started with the challenge of getting home. What is there to say about riding on the motorway? It's important to wear earplugs, that's for sure. If you listen to music, it needs to be music you already know well. Whatever you can hear through the earplugs and the deafening wind is only a suggestion of a song, a distant beat, a vague vocal. You need to fill in the gaps. Meanwhile, my off-road tires screeched wildly and continuously. I found the first hour of each day went by quite quickly as I amused myself with looking at the cars, the signs, the landscape. Then my thoughts wandered, and I recalled old memories or made hopeful plans for the future. But then there was only the road and the wind and how far it is until something exciting happens, like maybe changing to a different motorway. The less said about the discomfort in the CRF seat, the better. I wore cyclist gel shorts and had an Airhawk seat cushion. This extended the time until the pain came, but when it came, there was no getting rid of it. In the north of Spain, I came off the motorbike and tried to wring out more adventure from my trip by returning to the trails. But after 15 minutes, I realized the truth. My trip had already finished back there in that desert. In Travels with Charlie, John Steinbeck writes that the lifespan of a journey is varied and unpredictable. Some journeys only start after the traveler has already left home and continue long after he returns. If you've watched my first film, The Off-Road to Monaco, it will be of no surprise to you that I am still living that journey. It was my first trip of this nature and was therefore filled with the kind of childlike fear and joy that comes when you are doing something scary for the first time. Any time since that I have felt that feeling, I am taken back to those mountains in the Alps where I held on for dear life over loose rocks and steep drops. Remembering this never fails to bring a smile to my face. But Steinbeck also writes of another kind of journey which ends promptly while the traveler is still yet to return. Like Mr. Steinbeck and his journey across America, I tried to bring my trip back to life after it had ended and discovered it was impossible. Riding off-road now did nothing for me. I only felt annoyed at having to navigate the terrain and an impatience to get back onto the road, where I could suffer my miserable journey home in peace. If this is coming across as overly depressing, I make no apology for that. I will always tell you the truth, dear viewer, and the truth was I rode that motorway back to London in a kind of drunken stupor. In total, it took me 4 days, and for £1 million, I couldn't recall where I stayed each night or what I thought about. By the time I reached Calais and the Eurotunnel train home, I was a broken man. In summer, the train is full of bikers. Here, in winter, I stood in that carriage alone and wondered what had compelled me to take this trip. The endless hours on the motorway had drilled out any of the good memories I had formed from my journey. But perhaps this is why I take the time to record these adventures. As I go through the footage, I find that I experience the trip for a second time. We are only a collection of our memories, and memories are strengthened when we relive them. When I arrived in London, it was already dark, and as a reward for surviving 1,500 motorway miles, the gods opened their heavens and greeted me with a storm. But it's not that memory that I think of when I remember this trip. I remember a sky so clear it went on forever, a sun that stretched a palette of gold across its canvas. And I remember this look on Mo's face right here when we realized we had spent an hour battling deep mud and could have easily taken the next turn and gone around. It's moments like these that make it all worth it. It wasn't that I was with friends, it was that I was with friends I'd made along the way. And after only a day, we had shared this moment together and became the Mud Kings. And if you've watched along this far, thank you. Those of you who have offered words of encouragement through YouTube comments should know I find each one to work as fuel for me to keep creating. What a time that we live in, where I am able to take such trips, capture them, mold them into a story, and share them with you.